let's hope the stream will work now. We had some technical difficulties a few seconds ago, but it looks like everything is up. Yes, it is. That's good to know. You've joined us right in the midst of qualifying, with TFJ in provisional pole position, followed closely by title rival SMJB. SMJB currently leads the championship with just 1 point. This is round 6 or 7, so it will be very interesting to keep an eye out on those two. See the championship unfold. Of course, 1 point difference with the amount of points that are awarded to drivers will mean just a fastest lap is separating the two of them in any race. Of course, this will be very interesting to watch, especially as if you look all the way at the top of the screen. Currently it's dry conditions, it's a fast track, so the times won't be optimal for any of the drivers, but with 8 minutes left and the session not having changed anything at all, it does say rain will be coming within the next 10 minutes. So that could be towards the end of the session that the qualifying will just be down. So it will be crucial for Hirio and later Maxtree to get a lap in as fast as possible to at least have a chance to qualify in the top 11. Will be very interesting to keep an eye out. Of course, not just the qualifying will be in these type of conditions. According to our predictions, the race as well will have around 33% chance of being full dry, full wet or mixed conditions. So we will be keeping an eye on that for sure. It will be very interesting to see how the track will change during the race, but for now the qualifying very tight at the top, with TFJ in the lead, followed by SMJB just 2/10 off, as it looks now like some rain might be starting to form according to our data at the top. So we might just get to see the end of qualifying with 7 minutes to go almost. And Aerobic was 7.9 off, Desmo 3.2 off, Rosen leaving the Porsche only to 5th, and yes, it has started to rain. The track still being fast, so the final few drivers might be able to get a lap together, but I don't think SMJB will be able to challenge in these conditions. If the track starts to get a little more slippy, he has a little bit more time where the rain won't be affecting him too much, but it won't be long. As he spun out and it's off the track, he took too much of the curve and into the wall. That will be the end of his charge for pole position here. TFJ finishing a lap but currently invalid. Let's see, a lot of drivers heading back to the pits. That will be a shame to see here near the end, as we might see just a few more laps coming in. Let's see who will be first cross line. That will be Bones. Lamborghini, you can really see a bit of the raindrops forming. The track still says it's fast, which will be very interesting to see these final few people cross line. Bones 1.753 off. Let's see if he is able to improve here. No, he is not, sadly. Maybe Lucas a better chance. 1 second off, nearly dead. No improvement from him as well. And who will be next? Will that be Zero? No, it will be Jago's next to cross the line. Goes wide though, I think that will be invalid. Yes, it will. And we only have Rosen leave A3 here on a flying lap, which I think in these conditions the track is still fast according to the data. So some improvement might still be possible, although with the amount of cars in the pit, it does seem like the track is just not in the right condition. Although is an improvement possible? No, not for them as well, as some looks like here we are going very slowly there, as late and Maxi got past. It will be interesting to look back on that, as we do still have TFJ here out on track, which says it's fast, although there's clearly some light rain dropping down now. which of course stats will be increasing. But yep, the track just turned greasy. I think with about 4 minutes to go, the qualifying will be over, at least pace-wise. As we see Stuart wishing everyone good luck. They might just need it with the conditions coming up. And Phil, I do think in this way the qualifying, the race can be very fun. With the conditions will definitely come into play. With about a 30% chance of anything. And of course Phil being in the chat, I think that does indicate qualifying will be over in terms of improving. As you're supposed to be focused on standing in the pit lane at this point. Let's see, Jago as well, finishing another lap. Let's see if maybe something is possible for him. Quite a few drivers still out on track, as I just shouldn't have said anything. Quite a few drivers still out on track, as it's clearly becoming more and more grim. More and more wet, slowly moving towards... Oh, spun on the curb, very tricky corner there, trying to improve a bit too much. But I think with the current people driving later next year, we'll probably just be trying to get a lap in. Maybe to take advantage of Hirio as well, who's right behind him. Of course, like Phil said in the chat as well, no point going out, it's not going to go faster. Yeah, I think most people who are driving at this moment, like Hirio and Maxi, are just going to try to get a time in. To maybe make up a few positions of no one who got a clean lap. Let's see if they can do something. Yep, both of them managing to get past Aeromobic at least. Hirio doing it faster, getting close to Desmo. They might still see a bit of improving in their current lap time, but it will be difficult to improve for any of the drivers that has a lap time at the moment. Let's see, we have Aeromobic will be next across the line. Might feel a bit of time still left on the table, but yeah, for the competitive lap times near the top of the field, I think no one will be able to improve on their times. Some really good times at that. If you look at the conditions being fast, I think he went a bit wide there. That won't be counting his track limits. Bones here as well, also still on track. Pretty interesting to see. Especially in these conditions, as the track gets emptier and emptier with people going back to the garage. Can he improve? No, still not, but he will probably be driving at this point, I think, maybe. Just to get some practice in case this is what will happen during the race. The chances of that are pretty reasonable, that the race might end up in conditions like this. So in a way it's good practice to get a feel for the slick tires in greasy conditions. I think that might just be what the people who are still out on track might be doing at this point, just trying to get a good feel for the track, which in a way I just really need to stop saying things like that. In a way will be interesting and good practice. As here we follow Desmo in the Aston. Of course, the Aston Martin being quite a solid car in the rain might play out to his advantage later on, but I think most people out on track won't be doing this for a massive time improvement or a shot at poles. We have someone who is, it's a ballet here at the end of the back straight. 2 cars off. I think the conditions really are getting to the very slippy end of greasy now. Probably this would be about the point where slicks become obsolete and the switch to wets will be a lot faster. This will be the point of learning for our drivers, which I think will be most of this. Let's see what Desmo will do. Will be entering the pit in these conditions. We have TFJ still continuing though. Probably trying to get as much out of the slicks as possible at this point, but just to end qualifying here. Not sure whether he made it or not. It looks like he made it actually. Just in time to do one more lap. And who else do we have on track? It will be Hirio here in the Ferrari. Just a bit further along. Everyone don't really think any time improvement will be possible at this point. Let's see. But hey, track in greasy conditions will be quite a bit of practice. I think the drive that stayed out the longest will have quite good knowledge ahead of the race, if the conditions will be similar. But let's see if maybe Hirio improves. Of course, he set his first time in greasy conditions, so he might just be able to pull a few more tenths out. I honestly doubt it, as the track has started to look more and more wet than when he was first doing his laps. Let's see if he's quickly still. Yeah, he's still on a valid lap, so if he keeps it tidy around it, that was really on the edge. A bit of oversteer. Not sure if it will be valid or not. I think it will, but will we see some improvement here from P11? No, and that will be the end of the qualifying session. Now on to the preparations for the race, which, well, usually I would put the broadcast on pause, which yeah, let's just do that for now. So good luck to everyone in the race. The qualifying's over with TFJ on pole, just 2 tenths in front of Aston JB. Will be interesting to keep an eye on the start for the championship, followed by TJ Evovi, 0 on before the second row of the grid, and down from there it will be Luke rounding out the top 5, and the first one outside of the 1 second margin. Quite a wide field, followed by Jago, Devilson, Better Bones, Rosen Alive, Big Desmo, Hirio, Leighton Maxi, Aramovic. And welcome back, everyone. Just 1 minute to go until the race will be underway. If you take a look at the weather report, it's looking like it will be dry for the first 30 minutes of the race, although when just loading in the 30 minutes it did say rain was expected, but of course at least this will make it interesting. Of course, the pit window opening after 20 minutes up until the 40-minute mark might be interesting to see how the weather report changes during the race. Of course, there's still a chance it will be full dry, but there's just as big of a chance of it being mixed conditions. Just 30 seconds to go now.
30 seconds.
Time to finalize the setups for everyone. We see quite a big prominence of Lamborghini at the front. Cool. Think about quite a good representation for the Lamborghini drivers with just 10 seconds to go. The track is in optimum condition. The temperature is very nice. It will be interesting to see what the weather will do, as that will be the main factor of this race. But for now, let's take a look. So drivers are lined up on the grids, ready for the formation lap. Let's do a quick run through the grid after they were all underway. Here we can see a beautiful shot of the drivers coming into turn 1. It's looking like most of the grid will be underway any seconds now, so let's do a quick grid walk the manual way. We have TFJ currently 1 point behind SMJ in championship with pole position in the BMW. Of course, his championship rival right behind him in the 28 McLaren, followed by TJ Evovi, another McLaren driver. The 18 bright green livery will be very easy to spot. Then here we have the first Lamborghinis, Xeron, very nice looking white gold Lamborghini, followed by the next Lamborghini of Luke, the very nice looking light blue, with behind him the orange Lamborghini of Jago. And after that we have the second McLaren off the grid in the Devil's Son, running the Vodafone Golf-ish livery, followed by Bones in the Lamborghini, another bright green livery, easy to spot. Then we have the only Porsche on the grid, Rosenelef 83 in the 77 Porsche, which once the fence out of the way will be black and red, quite a nice looking livery, and Desmo here in the only one driving the Aston Martin, followed by Hirio in the Ferrari with quite a good start to the season, but missed out on a few small races here. And then later Maxi, the only Lexus driver here as well, will be quite noticeable, followed by Aeromobic rounding out the grid in the 78 Lamborghini. Let's move on to the front of the field, or on the back straight now. It will just be a couple of more corners until we'll be going side by side, as we get some good luck for Jorik by Boss. Of course, Jorik being 0-90 here. It will be interesting to see what he can do from the top 5 positions, as everyone's trying to get heat into those tires, which of course the conditions will have been tricky with setting this up. Of course, most drivers will probably have prepared maybe a dry setup and a wet setup, but it will be interesting to see the switch between the mixed one if the conditions were to change. Coming around, it's looking like the 2x2 will be lining up now. Yes, they will. Just the final bit of preparation, getting those brakes and tires all the way up to optimal temperature on this optimal track, so we will be seeing quite some fast lap times here around the start, at least, with the track being optimum. The first 30 minutes will be interesting to keep an eye out on the weather report on the top of the screen there. As we're now approaching the final corner, the field all backed up. Let's see what they can do in these penultimate round of the championship. Aston JB trying to get as much under the side of TFJ as possible. Of course, the championship, this will be a crucial round. We're approaching the lights, 70 kph speed limit. Let's see when the lights will green, and it's green. Let's see. It looks like Aston JB has had a pretty solid start around their side there, but I think TFJ will be able to defend, as I saw some contact behind there. Jago, I think, did manage to get in as a spun into the wall. Let's see, hold the brakes, perfect. Someone has gone wide as well. I'm not sure who that is. Those look like the several of Luke. Lots of damage on the right hand side there. Will be interesting to see what happened there after the race. The two Lamborghinis who had a really good position got in contact, but at least Zero managed to make it out. Looks like that was the only incident. Shame for them. But it's lap 1, turn 1, very tricky conditions after the qualifying as well. We'll see what the situation is with damages and how it will impact them during the race. Might want to go for an early stop or just stop right away. But they have dropped back quite a bit. Now at the front it's looking like it's all single file driving for now. Everyone in position as Hirio really made up a lot of positions here at the start, really made a profit of the chaos, but it goes wider on the grass. Will be compensating his exit for now. Let's see here at the front, lots of single file driving, but it looked like Bones maybe Hirio having to defend there from the Porsche behind. It's a little twitchy going through the corner there, but it looked like apart from the incident into turn 1, everyone has made it through without any issues, or at least major one, as it looked like if Luke was spun out there at the corner or at the outbound straight, and he has where has he gone? No. Yeah, oh, it looks like he sadly left the race at the end of lap 1 there. Shame to see someone leave that early, but of course didn't exactly see the situation. A highly damaged car, possibly undrivable, having to take a pit stop. Not a big grid this race as well. Will be a shame to see. Meanwhile, in front of us we have Zeron here defending from TGR. TGR who lost the position to Zeron, but he's spun there. Let's see if he can be able to get back on the racing line. Great driving there behind him to avoid him, as he now comes out behind Leighton Max. It will be P10. There was someone behind him or in front of him? Just behind him. Not a great start as well. Michael Woutboer in the chat as well, supporting your. Sadly, of course, with the spin he will have dropped back quite a lot. Not a good start for the Lamborghinis. All of them in quite solid positions at the start, but only Bones really the one who didn't make a mistake with the Lamborghinis. Not very good for them. Hirio though has had an absolutely amazing first 2 laps, starting P11 I believe, after qualifying late in the rain. Now up to P4, possibly even challenging for a podium. We'll have to keep an eye out for them, as at the front TFJ has managed to pull 1.3 second gap on Aston JB. For the championship right open between these two. We're gonna keep an eye out on them the entire race but right now it's looking like the gap is just getting bigger and bigger. Let's see what it is coming across the line. 1.5 seconds looks like. TFJ slowly driving away as he sets the fast lap of the race as well. Let's head more towards the back of the field here. 3 different cars here battling for position 4, actually 6 different brands. Here if you look at this from P3 all the way to P8, Fancy is quite as both Bones and Rosenluft go wide there. And if we look to the back, I believe we can see a battle going on there. Devilson right on the back of Leighton Maxi. Ooh, very close, might have been a little bit of contact there, as the back of the Lexus got a bit twitchy. And now Jago is all over, Xerald is all over the back of him. I think he was going for an inside but compensate, but now we have Devilson with a bad exit. Will he be sticking his nose up the inside for the corner? No, he'll be playing it safe as Leighton actually goes off. Can he hold it? No, I think he spun, but I've just back on the track. Shame, not really anyone close by though. Zeron, I think, and made a mistake as well, as Jago managed to pass him. A lot of action towards the back of the field here with the people that didn't have the best of starts. Will be pretty interesting to see what happened there at the start. Of course, quite a few great drivers here. Keeping an eye out for them as one of the balls goes flying. Though it's towards the back of the field, all these drivers are usually more towards the front, so it'll be interesting to see along the time of the race if they manage to climb back. Jago here looking for a move down the inside of a long right-hander. It's not really a 2x2 corner. Will be interesting to see the lines through there. Maybe some compensating having to be done, as it's really close between these two. Towards the front field it is a bit more spread out. Of course these drivers very, very good pace in the usual time, but we'll have to see, of course, how they will perform and how they will possibly come back at this track. It's looking like a very nice race. Zeron here going for a move down the inside at the hairpin. Let's see if the other corner is to the left again. She backs out. These three look to have a pretty similar pace around here. It will be interesting. It will mostly be done by mistakes, I think, who will be taking positions. Of course, Snetterton isn't the easiest track to overtake, especially if you take into account the first corner being pretty fast and only the second corner being hairpin is a good spot. But now we're gonna go close each other, close, very close, really. Going onto the back straight. Let's see if the slipstream here will come into play for the Lamborghini. It looks like there's someone slow. Oh wow, it's Rosenhille with a lot of damage on the Porsche. It looks like damage on the front, the right hand side and the rear slightly damaged. Not sure what happened there, but they have gone into the wall or into someone else. The left side is looking pretty intact. Will mainly be front, right and rear damage. The shame for them is only Porsche driver, but they will be holding up and interfering with this battle. Of course they're damaged, but there's no blue flags, as I think that was a contact from Devil's Son, who touched the Porsche around into Jago, I think, who might have some damage on the front. I'm not sure if they had contact, but he had to back out at least. Let's see. Looks like a bit of damage on the splitter there. Let's see how that will affect this battle, as Rosenhille of course goes to the pit to repair the damage. A shame of what happened. It's a very bumpy pit here. So if we look to the front, Aston JB with the fastest lap now. Just 7/10 of TFJ. Managed to halve the gap what it was a few laps ago. Seems like their pace is very, very similar as well. If you see someone has spun again, I see Zeron again, what a shame. In front of them it's still the battle between Jago and Devil's Son. He caught up pretty quickly there. Let's see if the damage will, if it's cold damage, it won't be a lot, will affect him. He's right on the rear bumper of the Devil's Son here as we're approaching the back straight. Now the exit from this corner will be crucial. It looks like Jago has gone a bit wide on entry there, trying of course optimizing the exit. Very small gap. Let's see the slipstream coming into account as we're approaching the. He does have a bit of damage there. You can very well see it from that angle. The Devil's Son doesn't take the ideal line through there either. Will be interesting to keep an eye out here, as we have someone, as we will, I think, with the pace of the Jago catching up, he will eventually have the more pace. But of course, where are you going to overtake? You will have to be profit of mistake, as there's contact, as was contact, I believe. But Devil's Son managing to keep it on track. Jago as well. Very tricky there, as it's really hard racing. SNGB still pretty close to TFJ, but this battle here is so incredibly close. The gap hasn't been higher than 4/10, I would say. Looking down the inside, late braking will compensate this exit though. And could just be a bit of showing himself that he's there, showing that he's faster. Trying to find a way through, as it's just so close here between the two. Let's quickly switch to SNGB and TFJ, as it looks really close on the track map there. Aston JB really clawing in TFJ in the last couple of laps after a good start for TFJ. Of course, SNGB will have a 1 point advantage in the championship, which will be due to a fastest lap, which he currently does hold, but of course a lot of fuel in these cars at the moment. Let's see what they will be able to make out of it. He's slowly been reeling in TFJ here for the lead of the race. It looked like a 10th or so a lap on average. We're now onto the main straight. Will be interesting to see, of course. The best result will be what counts, especially with this being the penultimate round, so it will just be one more round to go after this. And if looking back at the replay here, I'm not too sure what happened there with the start with Luke and Jago. Probably contact after Jago spun, it looked like. Yes, it is. Didn't just see it in the real time. Always good to have a little link in the general chat on the Discord, which of course, if you're watching this and you're not racing yet and you're interested in racing or join the Discord, be sure to join the Discord if you want to enter the next season, which isn't confirmed yet, but around this time of the year probably won't be all too long waiting, as the season is coming to a close. Now, we see a lot of support for Yorick in the chat here, as well by Joey V now. So with this battle looking like the state, let's see his position, as he's really in the middle of nowhere after that spin he had coming into turn 3. But we will be keeping an eye. His pace is really good compared to some of the cars around him as well, so especially if you look at qualifying, might be interesting to see what will be happening and what position will be later on in the race. Let's switch here now to Hirio and Ivovier, battle for the podium position. And I'm not wait, wasn't it Jago who was right on the back of Devil's Son? What happened to him? I think I've missed something, but that's a badly damaged Lamborghini there at the front, the hood open. And the bonnet damage on the left rear and front, a lot more visible now. I've completely missed it as I was watching the replay, I think, of the turn of the lap 1 incident, but looks like a lot of damage there will be difficult to drive around with. There's of course still no rain expected. Shame to see though, of a close battle there. But we still have another close battle on track right now here between Aovio and Hirio. Will be pretty interesting to see, of course. Aovio starting in this position, only making up losing some positions and gaining some positions at the start, pretty normal compared to Hirio's start, who had to really fight back in the first couple of laps and was gaining and gaining all the time. As we're now coming onto the backside, let's see if a move may be possible here. I think the gap's just too big though. Let's see. Oh, here you're going quite deep in the corner, wide line, taking a lot of curve, but it's really close between the two of them. But we currently in the chat have Tom Curtin supporting TFJ, of course. Someone else with support this time. Fun to see some change, but the battle on the front is close, both in the championship as this race. Gap hasn't really gotten bigger than a second after lap 3, I believe, where Aston JB restarted to reel TFG in, who has reclaimed the fastest lap with a small push. Looks like SMP has countered though and really closed the gap up again. Both of these drivers consistently scoring P1 and P2 results during this season, which will be quite interesting to see how these final 2 races will play out. The gap really just dangling up and down, both drivers gaining time and then losing time again compared to each other. It's constantly like a simple harmonica effect. I'm not sure what it's called in English, but will be interesting to see how this plays out, of course. It looks like it might just be a full dry race this time around, which will be the most normal conditions of the ones possible. Of course, never say never in racing, and especially not with English weather. Some slightly late turning in line there from TFJ. Both the pace looking very similar this lap, but we have someone off. I believe that's the Devil's Son off into the wall as well. That's a heavily damaged McLaren. Quite a few people making mistakes, losing. Not sure whether he lost that position to Xion. Yes, he did. There's a lot of damage on the front of that McLaren, and the rear damage slightly damaged, but I don't think that's from this. The front definitely more damage. Will be a lot of people making mistakes here, spinning or going wide. We'll be keeping an eye on that. I just saw the yellow flag icon pop up. A real shame, as he is having a pretty okay start as well, and with a pretty solid qualifying. And we see now the McLaren and the BMW 2 in nature very different cars running so close together. There's a bit further down the order. We have Hideo here still chasing down Yoyo, who has managed to pull a bit of a gap. Pretty interesting to see that the closest gap on the track is now between the two leaders, as I will call them the two leaders of the championship by accident, but it will be actually only one the fastest lap difference. Before that, they have had the same results so far. So let's see. It looks like TJ might have been able to open the gap back up just a tad bit more during this lap, but of course, never say never. It's still within the second. Let's see, basically stayed the same for the entirety of sector 2. I think the final sector looks like it's Desmo and Desmo here lapping Rosenhilf. I thought it was a battle going on. Of course, some lap traffic might be coming up soon as well with the damage to some of these cars. But for now, it will just be these two on track, as it looks like SMB has had a really good final corner. He will be very much affected by the slipstream here. Let's see if he'll be able to go for a move down into turn 1. Although it's not the best overtaking opportunity, that will be turn 2. I see it looks like Jago is off just after the back straight, but let's just stay with this battle now. It's the lead and championship battle. Different line from SMJB. They're trying to make as much as he can from the exit. He's right all over the back of TFJ here. Now we're entering end of sector 1, sector 2. Pretty difficult to overtake here. His objective will be to stay as close as he can, following TFJ to maybe go for a move down here already. A pretty good spot to go for a move as well, but he'll have to be really close for that. Now he'll try to get as close as possible again for a much slipstream on the back straight. And now it looks like a very close exit there. Someone's gone off as well. I think that's TJ Ivovi now right in front of Bones. As what happened to Hirio? And Hirio is gone as well by the looks of it. No idea what happened there. The race is definitely exciting with just 10 people left now, but people looks like leaving, or a lot of people making mistakes, and even a close battle for the lead and championship even. It looks like this being the main battle out on track here, with only, I think, Desmo approaching traffic, and or is it Bones and Ivyogi here also in a quite close battle, but we'll be keeping our focus on this as it's for the lead race, and in the background we can even see Ivyogi and Bones now. It's confused me a bit having lost Hirio all of a sudden, as the pit window has just opened, but I think with 30 minutes to go, 30 minutes visible on the radar and 40 minutes to go, we won't see anyone coming in the first 10 minutes at least. It might still be a chance of rain occurring near the end, and you don't want to have to make another pit stop in that case. Will be interesting to see though what will be going on, maybe in a possible pressure change in that case. But for now it's looking like it will be dry, and it's also looking like TFJ has managed to get a bit of a safety gap, as much you can call it that. of 6 tenths, and we do have someone pitting. That's Devil's Son, of course, probably going to repair the damage, as it will be very costly for him over the duration of this race, trying to get as much as possible out of it. Now here, let's see here the battle at the front. What is the gap? Drop down to less than 6 tenths again. It's been constantly around this amount of time. Might get pretty close with the Devil's Son on pit exit, depending on the amount of damage he have. Now coming here, approaching the final corner, because the exit will be important, as it's one of the two best, and the exit is important as SMGB does have a good exit. Looks like TFJ has made a mistake and now gives up the lead basically to SMGB, who just with the better exit flies right by. But he does not have a gap. It's less than 2 tenths as they cross the line. TJ will be looking to make that pivot, sliding with the rear end of the BMW there. He will be looking to take back P1 as soon as possible, looking even for a move into turn 2, or just simply showing he can do it if he would want to. But let's see now with the roles reversed if TFJ can keep up with Aston JB. Of course, this being a very difficult track to overtake, now SMGB might be able to show what he can do with some clean air in front of him. Now that he has that luxury that TFJ had for the first 20 minutes of the race. We'll definitely keep an eye out on this, as their pace is just incredibly close all race, in qualifying as well, just 2 tenths difference. And just as I said, BMW looking quite twitchy there. I think TFJ is really pushing now. He won't be wanting to stay behind for very long, of course. The dirty air really having an effect on some of the faster corners around here. So now coming into the fast right-hander into the dip. One of my personal favorite corners on this track actually. It's really fun to nail that, and the exit as well. As now we're coming up to the 1 lap mark of SMGB being in the lead by a bad exit there. TFJ taking a lot of curb, really pushing to stay close. Let's see the gap going from 2 tenths to 4 tenths. What will be now, I think, about 4 tenths still. Really similar pace between these two all season, especially now constantly driving in close proximity. Will be interesting to see when TFJ will go move, as SMGB will be going defensive. TFJ getting slightly alongside there, pushing him out of the corner almost. Not sure if it was contact or not, but really close, that's for sure. It's looking like the pace is going to be very important here. SMGB having to defend the inside into turn 4 as well. TFJ of course won't be going for the move at the first part, but let's see if he can maybe do something on exit. Doesn't look like it. He'll now be trying to stay as close as he can for the next couple of corners. Not really an overtaking point until the main straight, as this will be interesting to see. I think that will be who is that Aeromobic there, who will be lapped right at this moment. Let's see how he interferes. Oh, Steve J nearly loses the car there on exit. The dirty air might have influenced that pushing, but now SMJB could try to break away, use the 1.1 seconds gap behind him as some breathing room for now. But TFJ will be pushing to try and get back to that. It was a really shame that the battle ended like this for now. Of course, pit strategy will be very important with the gaps this small, as we will now see how this will affect the tires and the pace of both of these drivers, as well staying out. Stewart, of course, complete like good battle with the front two. The racing is incredible between those two all race, but let's hope the gap, well, at least S and JB won't be hoping the gap will get to that size again. But for us as viewers, it will be incredible to see them going head to head again in this championship battle. see what the gap is coming into sector 2. Looks like TFJ has managed to get back a few tenths there. It's pretty close here as well between Bedbones and Eovi, and of the Devil's Son being a lapped car. Although the gaps are very close, surprisingly, with a pretty spread out field, most people are still in the same area of the track actually. That being sector 1 and start of sector 2. But let's see what the gap is at the end of the back straight. From 0.9 to 0.8, TFJ really slowly but surely reeling him in, taking a bit of curb there even onto the dirt with some wheels, but still look like he has managed to gain some time. Looking to me like his pace is slightly better than SNJB's, which will be interesting to see who will be stopping first. Maybe it will be a good stretch for TFJ to get as close as he can to the back of SNJB, preferably after the 30-minute mark, to maybe go for an undercut, or as SNJB might try to defend TFJ's pace by going for an undercut himself, as it looked like it's Aramobica's spun coming out of the final corner. It's quite a big group there as TFJ really closed it up there, but let's quickly switch to what's going on here. A lot of cars on track pretty close together as well. Not really for a battle, but it looks like Aramobic has gone into the pit. These are cars on a few different laps to each other. TFJ has managed to make it only 6 tenths now in this. It will be really interesting to see with the pace of about 3 tenths a lap, I would say. Maybe a bit more, a bit less, depending on consistency. Pretty close to the qualifying results actually. Will be interesting to see when he gets into the range of attack, and when the pressure will be too much for SNJB to handle here. After we have 15 laps and the gap not being bigger than, I'd say, 1.1 second maybe. It will be really good to see these two battle it out. TFJ getting close, well, but of course you can get as close if you want, but you'll still have to overtake, and the gap thing increased a bit again after they have come through sector 2. Of course, sector 2 being quite a tricky section to follow with the dirty air. Let's see what the gaps as they come across the line. Looks like both of them are really pushing and not decided to pit yet. Only 3 drivers have decided to pit, of course. If the tire wear isn't too great, you want to go as long as possible, but an undercut, especially with gaps this small, will be a very, very enticing option for both drivers, both offensively and defensively. So now TFJ really closing the gap, only half a second separating the two of them. As they are entering the final part of sector 1, looked like Aramobic had a moment again. Just a couple of corners up on the road of these two battling out. Gap only 3 tenths again, managed to get back to what it was before the mistake of TFJ when lapping Aero the last time. Let's see if he can transfer the pace of catching up into a possible overtake. So now getting close back, so he's almost alongside SNJB there, who doesn't really have a good exit, right on the back of him. Let's see if the slipstream will do its job. The exit will be crucial there. It looks like SNJB has profited a bit with the exit there. I think it will be very tight if TFJ wants to go for a move here.
We are at the halfway mark.
And we are on the halfway mark of the race, with the gap only being 3 tenths still. But it's all over the back of SNJB. Now again, a pretty tricky area to overtake here. We'll be trying to just get as close as he can for the main straight, and possible move into turn 2 will be most likely. Now approaching the final corner, the exit here will be crucial once again. And I think the exits are about similar, then the slipstream will definitely do the work, as SNJB has decided to go into the pit lane. Looks like the extra, I think, will be a defending the undercut from TFJ exactly at the halfway mark. Let's see if he will come to a stop. Good, right on the hill, having to go forward a slight bit. It does look like a partner that worked out well. That will be a possibility for TFJ now. Of course his pace was better. SMJB on fresh tires will be doing some good laps as well. There's still a bit of time to catch with the pit stops there. And we'll definitely keep an eye on TFJ's strategy. Will he try to overcut SMJB? Knowing that his pace was better near the end of the stints there. That he expects SMJB's pace to not be as good, massive different on the tires. Go for the overcut to have way fresher tire near the end, or is he going to immediately defend knowing that he has the pace to catch up right away and possibly get out in front of him now that his pace will be better? Let's keep an eye out on that change, as it does look like SMGB has quite a few clear air, but he is behind Desmo, who hasn't made his pit stop yet. Might get in the way a bit of curb, a bit of bouncer there from TFJ. Who's approaching Aramobic, and I believe that's Ziron as well, a bit further up the road. I think this will be a good point to stop, as Aramobic might be costing him some time here and sort of possible traffic. Let's see what he will do. Aramobic goes out the way nicely. Will he continue? Yes, he will. TFJ having the confidence in his pace here. Yeah, he thinks he will be able to defend against the SMJB's undercut by simply keeping on driving. I have to keep an eye though on the lap times they're doing, and the gap will be very interesting to keep an eye out. The grass on exit there. And now this is a bit of a disadvantage of only having 10 people here at the end of the season. Yeah, there isn't really a lot happening apart from the strategic battle. Of course, very intriguing, especially if you take into account the championship. But with on-track action, it's the smallest gap is 2.5 seconds, I think. Yeah. Apart from that, everyone's just, you know, well, I wouldn't say cruising, but not in a big battle with someone. Of course, Snetterton being quite a tricky circuit, and now of course the 30-minute mark having been passed, it has been confirmed that this race will be full dry now. So for us viewers, that will be a shame to see. I was quite looking forward to some mixed conditions maybe. It could really spice up the racing, especially with not a lot of people on track sadly. But we'll be here, and no matter what, as now TFJ has decided to box, and we see Aramobic going wide there. Let's see how he will drive into the box, whether it will be good enough to gain some time. Remember, SNJB losing a bit of time with it. He has stopped. I don't see him moving. I think he might have just gained a small amount of time there. We'll be following SNJB closely now to see where he will come out, compared to a bit of a slow moment there for him as well. We can eye out at where he will be once TFJ exits the pit lane. Of course, get very close with SNJB on possibly fresh tires, as TFJ has now started exiting the pit lane. I think TFJ has meant to overcut him with pure pace there. It looks like it has been the gap. Not updated yet, of course. Over the start finish line, still in pit lane slightly. Let's see what SMJB will be able to do here. Of course, TFJ's tires, if he has decided to switch them, will take a small amount of time to get back up to optimum pressure. So these will be the laps SMJB really needs to profit of. Close the gap as much as he can. Of course, he will be very annoyed with losing the lead, and even more than that, 2 seconds behind now. Even when he did the undercut, of course, the undercut not really being as strong if your opponent is TFJ, who is getting closer and closer, and space is just better. As we see in the meantime that Jago has passed Aeromobic now for P9. Of course, it was a pass and it was a battle, but Jago's pace being better than Aeromobic's won't really be interesting for us to keep an eye on that, as he has managed to pull away pretty quickly now, as the gap between SNJB and TFJ has stayed the same through Sector 2. Well, it's interesting to see though that this is the closest gap on track between the two championship rivals, and the first 2 positions on the track as well. Both of them having a really strong seasons. TFJ of course defending his championship from last season, which he won in quite the dominant fashion, with only losing 1 race and missing the first. I'm not going to be naming who won the other race, but let's see here now. As SMJB managed to pull in 4/10 on the final sector there. If he keeps on that pace, will be pretty interesting to see. Let me see if we can get a different view here now. From the back end of the BMW here, the gap being increased to 1.7 seconds now. It will be pretty interesting to see how that will change throughout the second sector. The gap being quite big as well. A bit of dust kicking up there. Let's see if we can manage. Let's take a look at this camera point from SMGB, as he will be approaching, or trying to approach TFJ, who has increased the gap through the first couple of seconds there, and it's growing again between the two of them. But keep an eye on this battle though. It will definitely be interesting to watch how this will unfold. I'm switching back to this view to see the beautiful liveries that have been created here. From the outside, a bit of curb there from both of them. TJ think just a bit more as SNGB goes for a bit more of the exit. Everyone, of course, also having made their pit stop as indicated by the green bars. Now SNGB has gained again in the final sector. Looks like that is the sector where TJ really struggles compared to SNGB, but then in the first sector it looks like that is a sector where TFJ gains the most amount of time. It's a pretty interesting dynamic between the two of them, but the gap is bigger than after the finish line last time around. So it looks like TFJ is slowly but surely pulling away from SNJB. Let's see the second timing line. The gaps has gotten bigger again, but about as same as last lap again. SNB of course will be pushing as much as he can to try and close the gap to TFJ here. Of course, they haven't really had massive battles on track this season. There weren't any live streams, so most people won't even know in this chat. But Brands Hatch could have been really close if it weren't for a big crash involving SMJB and a backmarker, which really put an end to that battle. But let's see what the gap is. 1.8 seconds now for entering the final sector. Let's see how much time SMJB can make up here. He usually gains about 2 to 3 tenths, so it could be that he has driven up faster than TFJ this time around. Of course, that will be very interesting to see, as if you look at the track map, everyone is very spread out, and most of them have a lap or so in between them as well. Let's see, as now approaching the start finish line, what the gap will be. 1.7, not really gained a lot this time for the final sector, but it looks like the gap constantly comes down to around 1.77 every time. So really matched on pace, but of course SMGB having pitted two laps earlier, I think so, 2 or 3, before TFJ did, will have a small difference with tires, but it won't really be noticeable. Now entering timing line for sector 1, 1.9 seconds. TFJ has managed to pull a slight gap, a bit more than last time, but it's really close between these two drivers. SMGB will be hoping for maybe another small mistake from TFJ, who has taken a bit of grass there, and by the looks of it will be interesting to see how this will unfold. Let's follow TFJ as they're approaching Adamobek again to put him on a lap. He might be generally a very good driver in letting people by, but of course blue flags will always interfere with weather like this. Gap at 1.7 again. These two are just so incredibly matched on pace. It will be interesting to see though if this might be just simply be a battle of who will be making the mistakes. Adamobek there going wide into the gravel might have lost TFJ a bit more time than it did Aston, but we'll see once I cross the line here. Timeline is just a 1.5 for Aston, who's gained about 2 laps or 2/10 this lap. If he can keep up this pace, it will still take him about 7 laps though, before we'll be on the bumper of TFJ. And with just 20 minutes to go, we're approaching the final quarter of this race as well. This might just simply be, the difference will have to be quite big per lap, and will possibly need to have something to do with mistakes. We're approaching the first timing line of the lap, and it's increased back to 1.8. TFJ really pushing in the first sector by the looks of it. As the gap keeps on being between the around the 1.7 to 1.9 mark. If you look at it over the course of the lap, keeping an eye out as well on the possible battle brewing up between Desmo and the Devil's Son now. Let's quickly switch to that. It looks like they are a bit closer compared to on track now, within the second as well. And just keep an eye out on the timeline as SMGB is now more than 2 seconds behind. It's looking like this is TFJ's race to lose here as we enter the final 16 minutes of the race. But here Devil's Son now really gaining on Big Desmo on exit there. The gap now just being 3/10. Let's see what these two drivers will be able to put up now. You see Devil's Son having a bit of a moment. They're going wide, and the exit of turn 2, one bouncing all over the place, hitting a brake marker board, will be costing him quite a bit of time, as the gap has shrunk to 1.6 seconds in the final second between the leader of the race. TFJ and SMGB will definitely keep checking the time sheets. But this battle will be one to watch as well. The Devils are now approaching the Desmo pretty quickly as the leader has just crossed the timing line, and it's back to 1.8 seconds. We have never seen that number before. Let's see how these two will battle it out though, as the Devils on space has generally been better, but there's a little mistake. What has happened there as well to Adamobek, who's spun coming out of turn 4 by the looks of it. Quite a bit of, not a lot, but a bit of damage on that car there. Will be hindering a bit, but he isn't really in close battle with anyone just yet. Let's see here now, feel close. The gap 1.7 between SMGB and TFJ. A pretty small gap than usual when entering the final sector, but it's really just been gaining a bit, losing a bit for those two drivers, as now Devson right up behind Desmo again. If we look in the just missing out, maybe if we look from turn 1 camera to the background, you can see that was SMJB crossing it, but now to turn 1, let's see. Will Defson keep it within the lines now? Yes, he will. Might be setting up a move right now, coming into turn 2. Quite far back. Oh, goes pretty deep. A bit of a moment there on the rear end as well, as Desmo giving him the space. As we can see the very famous Snetterton tree in the background there coming out of turn 2. Bit of light flashing there from Defson as well to Desmo, who is defending his position by just simply driving at this point. Defson's space definitely is better than Desmo, so it will be interesting to see how he'll try to get past. So the gap for P1 has gone back up to 1.9 seconds. It's definitely dying down a little towards the front there, which was a shame because it was such a good battle to watch the first half of the race. But now we have this battle going on here. Looks like Desmo didn't have the bet of it, and Defson might even be able to get past before we even arrive at the next corner. Yes, he will. Let's see under braking how it will change. Desmo going a bit deeper will be costing him some time. Now Defson has managed to make the move stick. The gap between SMJB and TFJ has increased back up to 2 seconds. And it looked like he spun. TFJ has spun coming out of the corner on the back straight. He has might even stalled the engine. SMJB is back in the lead, and it's an incredible lead at this point. A massive gap. Of course, TFJ's tires will be far from optimal at this point, but with just 13 minutes to go, he spun coming out of the corner in the back, in the quick corner at the back straight. With a gap of 2 seconds behind him, now being massive in front of him. It will be a mountain to climb if SMJB doesn't make a mistake. Let's see what the gap will be. 7.8 seconds. It will be nearly, will be getting close to a second a lap he'll need to gain if he wants to fight back for the win again. Here in the penultimate round of the championship, this is really great for SMJB, but a big shame for TFJ here, as beating quite a wide line there. He'll probably be thinking not to push as much as he could. He doesn't want to make a mistake, because the only real way that the TFJ can catch up is if SMJB does make one massive mistake. Of course, TFJ being an incredible fast driver, a lot of pole positions, a lot of wins last season and the season before that in the Division 1 as well. A reigning champion isn't easy. You never ride them out of a battle, but it will be very interesting to see how fast they'll recover, because it will need to be incredibly fast if he wants to win this without SMGB making a mistake, and of course having to pass as well. Let's see, 6.7, about 2/10 a sector at this rate. Will be very interesting to see, but of course SMGB will have generally a faster final sector, and he'll mainly be focusing on not making mistakes. So let's see if we can follow along with TFJ for onboard lap to see what is to follow him along with him now for one lap. Of course, the audio of the car being quite loud. A 1:48.0 for SMGB. TFJ driving on 46.9. He is getting more than a second a lap at this rate, which will be very interesting to see near the end of the race how that will end up pace wise, giving 6.5 seconds now. TFJ really balanced steering inputs there. This will be one exciting end of the race, as he had a solid gap that he'll now have to start pushing. But SMJB will be probably taking it easier, so not make any mistakes, which will result in his tires degrading less than TFJ's will. The gap is down to 6.4 still, gaining a tenth in the first sector, or 2/10. It won't be enough at this rate. He will really need to be gaining a second a lap if he wants to have some time to go for a pass. Well, SMGB was just going to be focusing on not making mistakes. Let's see now, a bit of a moment there on exit coming onto the back straight. That won't be a deal, but he will still gain time on exit. down to 6.2. Just keep an eye on the left hand as we go along, staying in 5th gear there. A corner where he made a crucial mistake. I'm not sure what happened there. For some reason this race is just everything's happening once we're not looking. Down to 6.1 now. Up on his personal best it looks like as well, but it's not really reliable as a spectator. You can see when this thing is really pushing there. SMJB did seem to have better acted with 47.5 and TFJ here with 47.1. That won't be enough at this pace to overtake SMP the natural way. 6.3 is the gap now, not really gaining as much. With just aiming 24, he needs to gain like 2 seconds a lap, maybe even. At this rate, if he wants to have a chance, that will be. This race will now suddenly have shifted from being TFJ's race to lose to being SMJB's. I really should have just shut my mouth again when jinxing it. The commentator's curse is real. I can now actually confirm it. Sorry to TFJ though for cursing you there. But we'll be able to see. I said the same thing about SMJB, so you might bottle it in somehow way now. Commentator's curse tends to be quite strong as he will be approaching traffic soon, which could throw a spanner in the works here for SMJB. And as you can see there in the background, nice zoom there from the game actually. You see TFJ approaching here in the same corner now. Time shine does say 5.8, but you will need to gain a lot more and a lot faster. With just 7 minutes to go and 5.8 seconds being the gap. It would be really interesting to see. I'd say about 2 seconds a lap it should be at this point, if wants to actually get close for a pass. Of course, all the traffic that SMJB will be getting, TFJ will also be having to go past. A shame that such a race had to end by the looks of it in just a small incident like that. Of course, that's racing. Consistency is key. And talking about consistency, SMJB misses the apex by about 5 postcodes, or whatever you call it in English, I'm not sure. But he won't be looking behind all too much. He'll keep an eye out on the times, but his main focus will be taking it easy actually. Not making mistakes, as this can be a huge moment in the championship. As at this point, I think if this will be the result, Aston JB and TFJ would be tied on points by fastest lap. But Aston JB will have 1 win and P2 victory, so that means that next race, if Aston JB wins this one and the next race, he'll be champion, and he will be the one to have the result in his own hands going into the final round of the championship. While TFJ will be dependent on what SMJB does. There will be a race to watch here as they're now approaching the traffic. The traffic being the Devil's Son and Big Desmo, who I think made a mistake as well, as Desmo is back in front again. Which could be a small battle between those two as well near the end of the race. The TFJ has now closed it down to 5 seconds, but with just 5 minutes remaining. He will now need to gain more than 2 seconds, so he's not gaining fast enough for this to be a natural overtake, as I would like to call it. And there we go, 5 minutes left on the clock with a lap taking about 1 minute 47-ish. Will be 4 more laps if I'm quickly counting from the top of my head to gain 4.7 more seconds. Wait, can I count? No. It will be around 3 more laps actually to gain 4.7 seconds. Looking like an impossible task at this point for TFJ. You'll really have to get every millisecond out of the car. Being 4.4 now, the gap is definitely going down really quickly, but just not fast enough, as now Here we'll have SNJB approaching the traffic, as I will quickly have to change to it like this. To take a look at it from his point of view, how he'll deal with the traffic coming up here. Of course, both Devilson and Desmo won't be wanting to lose a lot of time as they're in their own battle here, approaching the end of the race. Although the gap is big, it will be interesting to see as Desmo is spun, he's gone off, and Devilson as well. This is really good for SNJB as well. This will really save him some time with getting past the back marks. Of course, he has lost a bit of time there with having to brake and slow it down as Desmo spun off very deep into the grass there. But at the other hand, Devilson going off there will save him some time in the next sector. But let's see what the gap is now. It is 3.4. He lost half a second in traffic there, but TFJ still has to clear Devilson as well, and then still close the gap back up to SNJB. Near the end of the race will still be around 3 seconds left now. Will be practically impossible to do so normally with just 2 minutes 50 left on the clock. So if SNJB manages to stay out of trouble and don't make any mistakes, he will have this race in the bag. But never say never in racing. It's a cruel world sometimes, like it was to TFJ today. And then after back to 2.8 seconds, he's put up a masterclass of a drive in consistency and speed, trying to catch back up to SNJB. But by the looks of it, it's simply not going to be enough. A big slider, of course, in the dirt here. He'll be wanting Devilson to move out of the way as quickly as possible, and this possibility, it looks like he might as well. Very nice there from the Devilson. TFJ and Devilson actually battling for a championship back in season 9, division 2 they were back then. And then this Snetterton was the final round of the season due to some technical issues before that, and TFJ had lost the championship to Devilson that season, but had gained a promotion to division 1, as we're now, I think, approaching the final lap of the race. Yeah, it will be. To get 2.4 seconds, it will be a big gap to make up. So let's switch back to the outside view now. As for this final lap, let's keep our eyes on SNJB, who is simply going on to possibly win this race by just not making any massive mistakes, apart from this one exit into the final corner. His pace has been solid. He's matched TFJ for most of the race, and simply, well, not force him into error, but the error of TFJ there getting him a position near the end of the race. As we're now going into the preparation for the back straight one final time, and let's see, as we're now onto the back straight, no crazy things happening. TFJ will still be pushing as hard as he can in case SNJB does make a mistake, but with just one sector to go and a few corners in SNJB's strongest sector, it's not looking very likely. Get below 2 seconds again, the same as it was for SNJB when he was chasing down TFJ. So now just one long corner to the right enough, one more to the left. We'll be approaching the final corner of this penultimate round of the season, with SNJB gaining a big advantage over TFJ here, as he's now approaching the line, and he is won round 6 at Snetterton. TFJ crossed the line P2. Whoa, nearly some contact there as well. Devilson being first of the left car takes P6. Next up to cross the line will be Desmo, who had a bit of a battle with Devilson as well. It was a great race, especially with the amount of contestants we had. all of them showed what they could do. A lot of drama as well. As Desmo crossed the line in P7, Evovi will be next, and here nice to see a moment between the two championship rivals, the respect between them in this amazing race. We have such a good battle in the first half of the race and such good performances in the second half as well from both of them in both consistency and speed. Evovi takes the podium here at Snetterton, followed by Bones, who's P4, and that will be, I think, the Porsche of Rosenleaf as well, taking P8 it was, I believe, before they changed. Great result actually compared with the first lap damage. Now here we have Xero on P5. Will be closing it down as the last person on the lead lap. Really good result if you can see the small mistakes he had during the race. As we have Jago and Remote still left, as it looks like there's a party going on here into turn 1 and 2. Now we'll Aroa crossing the line in P9, which will be P10 after results I think, and Jago in P8, which will be P9. With eventual results, this will be the end of the penultimate round. And with just one more round to go in this championship, season 12, it will be an interesting battle between these two, with Aston JB leading the championship by a race win. The only way this will be very interesting to see, with Aston JB and TFJ being, if TFJ ends up winning the final round and Aston JB ends up second, it will be on countback who will be the champion. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to tune on in next week for the championship decider of SimZone season 12, and see you all later.